Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Who runs 147? Well, we're going to talk about that, man. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram and leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Look, man, I get it. Manny Pacquiao's coming back to the sport of boxing. But for people to just take and catapult Manny Pacquiao to the top of the 147-pound division without him doing anything, I think that's a fail on every boxing fan part who's spreading that narrative. Look, we all know the big dog at 147 is Jaron Ennis. I think Conor Benn makes it interesting if he chooses to come back to 147. I don't know if he's going to settle at 154. Brian Norman Jr. is another one of those big dogs who's a threat. But to me, as long as you got a guy like Jaron Boots Ennis there, you got a Brian Norman Jr. and even Kavaliauskas, although he lost this weekend, he damn near killed the opponent in the ring, Sissoko. As long as you got guys like that floating around, you can't come out here and say that Manny Pacquiao is going to come back to 147 and he's the king. He's going to regain his throne. What throne did Manny Pacquiao have at 147? Okay, Floyd Mayweather had the throne. Matter of fact, any weight division Floyd would have fought in, until you start getting up to 160, 168, Floyd would have dominated. Okay, so Manny Pacquiao's 46. He's beyond his prime. Look, he was out there in the Senate. Look, they're about to kick him out the Senate, right? He's going to lose, and he knows that. So he needs a stream of income. He's coming back to boxing. I'm not saying Manny Pacquiao's broke, but let's put some things in perspective. He's not coming back because this is something that he loves. He's coming back out of obligation and necessity, is what I believe. But anyway, let's stop the nonsense. The big dog is Jaron Boots Ennis. And there's just no other way for me. And I'm thinking right now, right? You got Stanley Eunice, you got Jaron, you got Norman Jr., Mario Barrios is going to beat Pacquiao. I've talked enough about that. Pacquiao can't beat him. Even a guy like Alexis Roach or Blair Cobb, man, them guys beat him, But I think what's going to happen is Pacquiao, I think he loses to Barrios, but I said in the video, if he happens to beat him, then you could see a guy like Wardley and Pacquiao or Conor Benn and Pacquiao or Eddie Hearn trying to, put Jaron Boots Ennis in there with him, but I doubt he'll do that. I think Conor Benn will get the fight. Or Devin Haney, because Devin Haney's just been moved to the number one position in the WBC. So they could be hoping for Pacquiao to clip Barrios and make Haney against Pacquiao. But the bottom line is, stop with the nonsense. The 147-pound division's wide open, but the big dog there is Boots Ennis, not Pacquiao. And I don't think Pacquiao is going to get beyond Barrios anyway. Okay, so let's just end that discussion. Now, Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn too. Look, great scrap. The first one was. The second one, I don't know how great that's going to be. But obviously it's gaining some momentum. Nobody cares what Hood Champion thinks. But I just think that's a rematch that we don't need to see. Me personally. I understand what happened with the first one. We were able to capture they were able to capture magic that night. I just don't think a rematch we're going to get what we saw the first time. That was just the theatrics, the lights, the cameras, the action. I mean, it's like something scripted for Hollywood, man. Like, you just can't recreate that. And if you try to do it, it's going to look forced. This first fight, nothing looked forced. Everything looked organic. It just looked natural. I mean, shit just happened. Stars are just lined up. It couldn't have been more perfect than what it was on that night. To come and try to recreate that in a sequel, I don't think we're going to get that. And plus, I just don't think. I don't know how hungry both of them are. Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, after that kind of money to face each other and the respect they have for each other, I don't know if they're angry at each other anymore. I don't know if there's a dislike or disdain for each other anymore. So I think that takes a bit of the edge off of the competitiveness. Of course, they both would want to win, but I just don't think you're going to see guys, when you talk about giving your all, I don't think you're going to see two guys really give their all the way they did in that first fight. That first fight, them guys it was like fighting to the death. Like, that's what I felt like. Someone's going to die in this ring, and they're okay with it. And that's just something that is just hard to recreate moments like what we got in that first fight. Anyway, Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn too. Looks like it's going to happen. More to come. But that's my 2 cents. Huge money, though. Another great payday. I just think fans are going to be disappointed. Wilder and the ayahuasca. I talked about this. Let me tell you something. Wilder can say he's not doing ayahuasca, but how many drug addicts do you know who tell you they're not doing drugs and are? How many thieves do you know who say they're not stealing and will still come and steal and take your sneakers off you, come in your house and pick up your loose change you got on the table? You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to Wilder's ayahuasca, if he's on that, he definitely loses, because that ayahuasca, what it did to Wilder, especially out there in Saudi, we saw it turned him from a lion to a pussycat. And if he gets in the ring trying to meow meow with Tyrell Herndon, who's looking to roar, Deontay Wilder's going to get another loss. And I don't know if it's going to be a knockout or what. He's going to have another loss, and that's definitely the end of his career. I mean, you can't come out here and lose to ayahuasca. I spelled that one wrong. Ayahuasca. Typing too fast. There we go. Let me correct that. When you're typing too fast, you make mistakes like that. Anyway, we'll get it fixed right now. All good. Just this one. There we go. Anyway, but when you're doing stuff like that, it just doesn't help. It doesn't help anything. And I don't know where Wilder's at mentally. I see he's got the gym, the boxing ring. It all looks good. It looks good. But I'm not convinced. I'd have to see Wilder in the ring before I actually come out here and give him the stamp of approval and say he's back. I'm already giving the stamp of approval to Tyrell Herndon, because I know what those guys are doing to prepare. And if they can execute the game plan and Wilder, help him out a little bit with being on the ayahuasca and not letting his hands go, Tyrell Herndon's going to win that fight. But at the end of the day, we just have to wait and see how it plays out. Fights in goddamn Kansas. I don't know how motivated you can be walking into a goddamn arena in Kansas and get motivated by those fans. I don't know. It's not like you're fighting in Vegas, New York, Florida, out there in the UK. You're fighting in Kansas. So we'll see what the excuses are if Wilder loses. Shakur and Zepeda. Let me tell you, Shakur and Zepeda is probably the most interesting fight of the year, because Shakur has put so much pressure on himself and backed himself in the corner with the way he's disrespected people, with the things that he said about other opponents, with the way he's talked about himself like he's the best fighter in the world. All of these things he said. We had a couple of things that I learned when I was in the military and I got to a certain point. It's two things. One is you listen more and you talk less, meaning you're at a certain point where you need to shut up, because whatever you say, people are going to hold you to that. They're going to use your words against you. So make sure when you talk, you add to the conversation. But at the end of the day, you need to be listening. 90% of your communication should be listening. 10% should be you talking when you get to a certain position. And the other thing I learned was, know what you know. Don't always show what you know. You could be the guy in a meeting and they're making decisions. But, you always got that one person who wants to be like, oh, I know, or I'll do this, or we did this, and I know how to do this. It's like, that's the most dangerous person. That's the person who gets abused. Okay, so you need to be the person who knows what you know, but don't always show it. Because when you come out here trying to show things and people start to say, okay, we're going to have him do it, or we're going to have her do it. Oh, okay, this is what they know. Okay, now we're going to add that to our repertoire. So the bottom line, it ends up being a lose-lose. You either get abused because you want to make sure everyone knows that you can do something, or you get taken advantage of, where people figure out, oh, this person does know everything. They want to get close to you to see what it is you know, and then they start to learn what you know, and then they turn their back on your ass anyway. So for Shakur against Zepeda, you don't hear Zepeda saying nothing. Zepeda just shows what he's about. He's not about all the talking. He gets in that ring and shows what he's about. And I think Shakur Stevenson, if he loses that fight, which I think he's going to lose, I think Shakur Stevenson is going to have a tough time climbing out of that emotional trough that he's dug up for himself, because no one's going to reach in there to pull him out, because he's put himself in that shit. You know what I'm saying? He put himself in there. You can't come out here disrespecting everyone, even your own friend Edgar Berlanga. You're disrespecting him, talking about how, you should be. People are really coming there to see you and not Edgar Berlanga. Let me tell you something. If Edgar Berlanga is fighting, and you got two adjoining buildings, right? Edgar Berlanga is fighting in one, Shakur is fighting in the other one, and you can just walk through an adjoining doorway to go from one auditorium to the other one. I'm telling you, 95% of people are going to go watch Edgar Berlanga fight, not Shakur Stevenson. Because you know when Berlanga fights, he's looking to knock somebody out. Nobody's going to watch Shakur Stevenson go in there and get into a tickling contest, a coochie-cooing contest. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to go see him chicken peck his way to a decision. They don't want to see that shit. So Shakur and Zepeda, interesting fight. The pressure fighter, high volume puncher. I'm not even going to call him a brawler. Zepeda can fight against a more calculated, strategic, economical boxer. I'm not going to call Shakur Stevenson a boxer puncher because, at 135, he's a boxer. He ain't no damn puncher. At 126, 130, yeah, he had a little punch. But that ain't the case at 135, and it happens. It happens. You go up in weight, it's harder to knock those guys out. Look at Adrian Broner. Was a menace. 130, 135, 140. Got up to 147. The guys were just too big for him. Okay? Now, Berlanga and Shiraz. That's a really interesting fight. I'm going with Berlanga on that one, but Shiraz can definitely win that fight, but I'm going with Berlanga. I just think Berlanga, man, he has a different kind of confidence about him after that Canelo fight. Although he lost that Canelo fight, when he did let his hands go, you could see that Canelo didn't like that shit, and Berlanga did have some moments. But the bottom line is he just had too much respect for Canelo and didn't let his hands go. But it's easy for us on the outside to judge these guys. When you're inside that ring, it's totally different from being on the outside as a spectator. Anyone who's sparred or fought, if you've been in the ring before in any capacity, you know what you see inside the ring is different from someone on the outside. They can tell you all day, throw the uppercut, throw the hook, throw the jab, throw the right hand, let your hands go. It's different when you're inside that ring. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Berlanga and Shiraz is a great fight. I got Berlanga, but they're setting Shiraz up to be the next big thing for Turki Al-Sheikh in these Riyadh season cards. Shiraz is the golden child, and Berlanga needs to understand that. In New York, it doesn't matter. He will not win a decision against Shiraz. Fabio Wardley is up next. He's the next big thing at heavyweight, man. He's out here. He's not afraid of nobody. He's coming in there to grind it out, grind his opponents down, and get knockouts. He's fighting Huni. I'm telling you, Huni can fight. I just saw Huni fight this guy on the Riyadh season card. Forgot his name off the top of my head. I'll tell you right now while I'm talking. I hate to do that. I just tweeted something about it. Let me see what I have here. I'll tell you exactly what I said. Because, where is it right here? Y'all, people need to put some more respect on Fabio Wardley's name. Let me see something. I tweeted so much stuff yesterday, it was crazy. Let me see. It may have just been underneath something somebody put out. Okay, Lorena. Huni lost that fight to Urena, in my opinion. But anyway, the first 4 rounds are going to be real interesting for Fabio Wardley because Lorena's coming to scrap, but so is Wardley. But I think every fighter is dangerous, especially in that first round. Everyone. Even if you get in a fight with Charlie Zelenoff, weird-ass Charlie Z, that first round, he would be dangerous. But after that, that's where you start to see a little bit of separation. And I think Fabio Wardley is going to be able to grind it out. And if the fight goes beyond 3-4 rounds, I got Wardley definitely getting the fight just, I think, by destruction. Because Huni showed that he could be hurt, and he was getting hurt every round. It seemed like he was getting hurt by Lorena. I think they jerked Lorena of a win, but Huni is going to be held accountable in this fight because the fight's not going the distance. I got Wardley clipping him. Now, Teofimo Lopez. Is he a racist or is he just a joker? Look, Teo has problems, man. And I'm going to tell you this again. I got a good sense of humor. Some of y'all get offended at every little thing a person says on here. I don't. But I'm telling you that when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, there's something wrong with that guy. He's out here saying now how he'll fight Canelo. I don't know if he's trolling. I don't know what he's doing. But what I will tell you is nobody seems to want anything to do with Teofimo Lopez. And you know, people are going to cut ties with a guy who keeps pushing a narrative about race and racism and trying to create separation. Let me tell you something about these sanctioning bodies and these Suleimans and Carcel or whatever the hell his last name is. They don't want to hear that shit. There may be things that people say behind closed doors and with their families and with their loved ones. But I'm telling you right now, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that shit. And Teofimo Lopez, he may be keeping his belt at 140, but I bet you they chirped his ass up and let him know to cut the shenanigans out. And I bet you guys are going to see Teofimo Lopez totally eradicate that shit from his approach to growing his profile. It's gone. He's going to purge that shit out of his delivery because nobody wants to hear anything about race. And me personally, since they keep Teofimo Lopez getting so much pressure, I think an opportunity may have been missed for the sanctioning bodies to come out and just address language across the board. I don't like watching press conferences, I'm being honest with you, and hear the N-word being used by everybody. It's like these guys who are doing this, like you're representing a brand, you're representing a promoter, you're a professional athlete, but everybody want to come out here, a lot of them want to talk like gangsters and N-word. Hitchens about to fight Paro and everything out Hitchens' mouth was N-word. Lomachenko and Haney. You know, all these guys, it's not just all of them. You know, this N-word. Berlanga's another one, N-word. And my thing is, they need to address that shit as a whole. They tripped up Angel Garcia, Danny Garcia's dad back in the day, for all the N-word talk and all that shit. Not because he was a racist, it's just people try to make him out to be a racist. He wasn't. That's just slang. That's slang. People use it. I get it. I understand. But I'm telling you, even me, I don't want to hear that shit. I just think it's crazy that you're getting paid millions of dollars and they're allowing these guys to talk like fucking idiots. But anyway, that's my opinion. But Teofimo Lopez, I think he just has an ill sense of humor. And it's come back to bite him in the ass now because he could come say he's joking all day. There are people who are convinced that he's a racist and they don't like him and they don't want him. And wherever he goes, he's going to get trolled and harassed. But he created his own misery, so it is what it is. Now, Tim Tszyu and Fundora, the rematch. You know, the Aussies are all about Tim Tszyu. The Aussies are going to support Tim Tszyu. And that's how it's supposed to be. You're from the Philippines, you're from China, you're from the United States. Well, the United States don't really be supporting the athletes like that when it comes to boxing. The UK, no matter where you're from, your countrymen should support you. But Tim Tszyu did say something. I was reading today how there's no psychological effects from him having the cut above his head when he fought Fundora. He understands what he's getting into with Fundora. He does understand that he had a lot of success, even with the blood in his eye. He had a gash in his head. Fundora couldn't breathe out of his nose. So he was blinded, and Fundora couldn't breathe. But it still ended up going to a split decision. So he feels like, you know, he's got Fundora's number. He wouldn't take this fight if he didn't feel that he could win. But he felt that the rematch is just as far as the next step was the optimal choice. He just felt like there was nowhere else for him to go except directly into a rematch because there's some unfinished business there. Anyway, Tim Tszyu and Fundora, the fight can go any direction. I got Fundora winning that fight. And the reason is because Fundora is now using his reach. Tim Tszyu still gonna come in there and make that fight hard. But if Fundora gives up ground, gives up his reach, compromises his real estate, the control of the real estate in the ring, then you're gonna see Tim Tszyu probably knock him out. Because Tim Tszyu had him on his way out the fight in that first one. But if Fundora comes out disciplined and starts with that jab and start putting that stick in the face of Tim Tszyu is gonna have a tough time. But we just gotta wait to see because we know deep down the way Fundora is wired, that guy comes for a shootout. And that's exactly what he's going to get himself into if he messes with Tim Tszyu and fights that kind of fight, a firefight. and Fundora is going to be the one who loses, is what I think. Anyway, Manny Pacquiao and Barrios. Look, Manny Pacquiao's not the king of 147. People, stop. I understand for a lot of you, your favorite fighters returning to the sport of boxing. The man's about to get kicked out the Senate. So he's coming back to boxing, in my opinion, for a paycheck because that stream of income he was getting from the Senate, I believe it comes to an end. Anyway, Pacquiao and Barrios, let him get past Barrios, and then we'll see what happens. I personally think if he beats Barrios, which he's not going to, but let's just, for fun, let's entertain the idea of Pacquiao winning. If he beats Barrios, well, now Pacquiao, as the WBC champ, they'll probably be pushing Haney to fight Manny Pacquiao. But then you got Rolly out there. So I don't think Manny Pacquiao is going to go fight Boots. I don't think Manny Pacquiao is going to fight Norman Jr. Manny Pacquiao is going to go where the money's at. And you're going to see, I think you're going to see Turkey Al-Sheikh, when Turkey's in the house every day is Thanksgiving, get involved and say, hey, Manny Pacquiao against Devin Haney. I think that's what he may try to make. But at the same time, I'm not so sure Turkey Al-Sheikh is too thrilled about working with Devin Haney anymore because of Devin Haney's lackluster performance against Ramirez. Anyway, Pacquiao Barrios, I got Pacquiao losing, but if he wins, I think Turkey Al-Sheikh may get involved with Pacquiao's next fight because he's a legend and so many people love him. Could bring him out there to Riyadh season. You could see him fighting Devin Haney. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think Devin Haney beats Pacquiao. I just got to be real. Even though Devin Haney is more of a coochie coo or tickler, I could see him out boxing Pacquiao. But I could see Pacquiao chasing him around that ring too, because you got to understand, Pacquiao can crack. Even at 46, that power doesn't go anywhere. But if Pacquiao can start landing on Devin, you could see Devin start running and not wanting to engage him. And then you could see where maybe Pacquiao wins a decision. It could be some shit like School against Canelo. That's what could happen with Pacquiao facing a guy like Devin Haney. Anyway, we have to wait and see. Now, Rich Charlo, poor Charlo. I ain't gonna lie, man. I like watching those twins fight. But they've had so much drama in and outside of their personal and professional lives that one Charlo, Jamel, is rich beyond belief now after fighting Canelo. I'm not surprised that he's not returning to the ring. Then you got poor Charlo, who's had all kind of ups and downs in his personal and professional life. Seemed to have been on, drugs and doing drugs. I'm not calling him a junkie, but anyone out here doing shrooms or psychedelics or smoking weed or whatever, you're doing drugs, okay? And if you do it over and over, you're an addict. It doesn't matter if these are your favorite athletes, okay? It is what it is. You're a fucking addict. But it seems like Jamal Charlo trying to get his stuff together. I hope these guys will eliminate the alcohol out of their routine as well, because that shit is probably worse than anything else they put in the system. But poor Charlo is back. Looks like he could be trying to go after Caleb Plant after this comeback fight. But how much do these Charlos have left? They're up there in age. They missed out on some really good years of their career. I mean, what do they have left? You know what I'm saying? Talk about a career, a boxer's career who didn't reach their potential. Jamal Charlo, remember, he was the Charlo that everybody was saying is the one to go on and do great things in the sport. He was the knockout artist. Jamel was just the kind of, they called him small Charlo, the guy who's getting in the ring, feather-fisted, coochie coo and tickling fighters. Then over time, things changed big time. Now you got with Jamel Charlo as a knockout puncher, and everybody looking at Jamal as wasted talent. But that's why, man, you got to have the right woman in your life. I'm telling you from experience, man. You don't have the right woman in your life, man, everything come fucking falling down. But it looks like they've got their shit together and they're trying to rebuild. So I'm rooting for Jamal Charlo, but really this shit boils down to Rich Charlo, Jamel, who doesn't have to do anything anymore, and poor Charlo, who's looking at his brother, who he calls his younger brother. The only difference by a couple damn minutes, which is so stupid. Big brother, little brother, my ass. Anyway, where he's looking at his brother Jamel and saying, damn, I need to get that kind of money. And if Jamel can beat this next opponent, if Jamel beats Caleb Plant, Jamal beats, I'm talking about Jamal. If he beats his next opponent and beats Caleb Plant, Jamal is going to probably get that Canelo fight. Canelo fighting for money. Canelo's going to be around. So anybody saying Canelo's not going to be around, hold your horses and let's stop taking it to the stupid. Canelo's not going nowhere. He's going to be right here trying to get as much money as possible. He's about to be a billionaire. But he's after, I think, the next fight, when he fights Crawford, he would have made over $1 billion in fight purses. So Canelo's an effing billionaire, all right? So he's going to hang around and keep making money. If Canelo can fight and be making $200 million a fight, you think Canelo's going to walk away? Especially when he can pick and choose his opponents? I wouldn't either. Shit, man, I'd fight 5 more. Now you got $2 billion. You know what I'm saying? And with all his businesses, Canelo out here chilling, man. Anyway, y'all keep cool. That's the rundown. Who's running 147? Not Pacquiao. It's what's his name? Jaron Ennis. Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, 2. Yeah, I'll watch it, but really, I'll pass too. While in the ayahuasca, if he's on that ayahuasca, he loses. Matter of fact, he's already lost in life, if you ask me, if he's addicted to anything. That's just not good. He got kids and shit. Anyway, I got a whole opinion on people doing drugs and drinking alcohol excessively, and you got children, but that has nothing to do with boxing, so I'm going to shut the fuck up. Shakur and Zepeda, I think Shakur loses. I think Zepeda throws too many punches, too ferocious, overwhelms Shakur, and Shakur is going to be holding on for dear life. I'm rooting for Zepeda to get the knockout. Berlanga Shiraz, I like Shiraz, but I'm rooting for Berlanga. I like Berlanga. He's kind of wild, could be a little bit obnoxious, but I'm rooting for Berlanga, man. Wardley up next. Yeah, I'm always rooting for Wardley. I like the fact that he came into boxing later in life, and it's just basically fighting off of guts and balls and doing what he's doing. Teofimo Lopez, a racist or a joker? I think he's a joker. But I do think he got carried away with the bullshit, and now people see him as a racist, and for the rest of his career, rest of his life, just like Ryan Garcia, people are going to look at him and see him as a racist. It's just like Bernard Hopkins throwing down that flag in Puerto Rico. There are people to this day who see Bernard Hopkins as a racist because he threw the flag down. And they can say what they want, but hey, when you can do whatever you want. It's your choice. You do what you want, but you gotta be ready to deal with the consequences. Tim Tune Fundora. The more I listen to Tim talk, the more I'm starting to feel like he's got a chance. Right now, I got Fundora winning that fight, but Tim sounds like he knows what he's doing. So I'm starting to say, hey, this could be more 50-50, like the first fight. Pacquiao and Barrios. I like Manny Karaoke-ao. I like Karaoke-ao. Just don't think he beats Barrios. But hopefully they're paying Manny Karaoke-ao a little $20 million or something so he can go back and never fight again. Because I hate to have to see his wife feed a blind Pacquiao, feed him through a straw and shit. Rich Charlo, poor Charlo, man. Hopefully them twins get their shit together. Because there's some talent there, good-looking guys. I just think they should be gazillionaires. 2 twins, 2 champions, very athletic. Personalities, man. They just dropped the ball. Talking about dropping the ball. Anyway, y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.